How's it going, Rogues Gallery? Today we are opening up and reviewing all three of the Grand Archive Alchemical Revolution starter decks. Are these decks worth it for you as a brand new player to Grand Archive? Are they worth it for you as an established player? We're going to talk about all of that, as well as what kind of player each of these decks appeals to. I'm actually really excited to talk about these. I think these are just a really great starting point into the world of Grand Archive. We have three brand new classes, three brand new advanced elements, and just some really cool stuff. And before we get started, I do want to mention a starter deck event that I'm going to be hosting in the Rogues Gallery Discord with official prize support from Weebs of the Shore. We have this prize support right here. We're going to be hosting the starter deck event sometime mid-February after I get back from Japan. This will be participation prizing. This is not a competitive event. The point of this event is to onboard new Grand Archive players, or maybe returning Grand Archive players, in a very easy and, chill atmosphere. You will have to supply your own unmodified Alchemical Revolution starter deck, as well as there's going to be like some sort of sign-up fee or whatever, but there is just participation prizing, so no matter how many games you win, how many games you lose, doesn't matter. Everyone is going to get some prizing. We'll have more details on the event later in this month, or I'll probably post about it after I get back from Japan. I'll post about it here on the YouTube channel as well as in the Rogues Gallery Discord, so definitely go follow the Discord or join the Discord in the description down below. Subscribe to the channel and all of that good stuff. And now let's officially get into opening these starter decks and telling you my opinions of them. Let's get started. All right, and we're going to start off with Diana. So this deck is a Fire Ranger deck, but in Grand Archive you can kind of mix and match. So if you really like Diana, but you really want to play Wind, for example, well, you can do that. You can build a Wind Ranger deck. You can kind of mix and match, which is one of the great parts about Grand Archive. So before we dive in, let's kind of check out the packaging just a little bit. Very similar to the last packaging, and honestly, very nice packaging. On the back, we do have a full deck list for the main deck and the material deck, as well as kind of just a little blurb, which I find quite interesting. It says, "A spirited sharpshooter with a fiery streak of justice. Difficulty 3 stars out of 5. Basically, what we're going to see today is we're going to see a range from I think it's from 2 to 5 stars, right? And I think we have, some amount of strategy that I think is going to appeal to a lot of players out there. So we got our box cutter. Let's get started. Personally, I'm most interested in the Ranger deck as well as the Cleric deck, but I do know a lot of folks are going to really vibe with the Guardian Tonoris. Honestly, I think it's the easiest of them as well. So, yep, gonna kind of cast this aside. We have the deck itself all shrink wrapped up and ready to go here, as well as this. So let's take a look at this first. This one has what could be a collector rare card. So it does say that there is a chance to get a randomly inserted collector rare. This is something that you see in a lot of Japanese card games. And we're seeing it here in Grand Archive as well. That was true for the other starter decks for Dawn of Ashes. So let's open up this first. It does have a little, kind of serrated, not serrated, but like a little jagged pull tab. Here is the quick start guide. If you want to learn how to play the game, you just kind of scan this in. Gives you a nice idea. And then we have some like token cards. So we have Creeping Torment. Well, we have three Creeping Torments. These are essentially token cards that are created by Diana, but I'm pretty sure you can play them in your main deck as well. They're interesting. They're very interesting. So let's check out the main deck itself and see what we have working on here. I said that weird, working on here, but yes, we're gonna check out the main deck here and see what we're working with. Initially, this was the deck that I was most excited for, but as spoilers progressed, I got more and more excited for Arisanna and the Cleric. But I'm still a very big fan of Diana here. So you have Diana, the Ranger, Diana Deadly Duelist. She is this deck is a fire deck. So we have our level 0 Spirit of Fire, our level 1 Diana, and then we have Diana Dusk Stalker. So this is going to be our champion's lineage for this particular deck. And you know what? I think this deck really would appeal a lot to kind of, you know, mid-range, more aggressive players. We'll talk about that as we get into it a little bit, but fire really lends itself for that kind of strategy. Though Diana kind of lends herself to more of a mid-rangey game with some like consistent damage over time. She has some really interesting mechanics here. One is that Diana, Keen Huntress, doesn't really do anything when you play her. She has this ability called Lineage Release, which means that you activate this ability by banishing this card from your champion's inner lineage. So once you've leveled up to 2 or 3, then you can banish her to materialize a gun from your deck. Usually it's best with level 2, because when you do level 2, you can also materialize a bullet. So you can do a 1-2 combo of getting level 2, materializing that bullet, and then materializing that gun as well. So you're kind of ready to go. And she also has this inherited effect, range 2. So if she's distant, she gets +2 to her attacks, which is great. And then level 3, on enter, you become distant, and then on champion hit, generate a Creeping Torment, which is one of these cards, which is, like I said, kind of like a token card, but you can also play it in your main deck. You generate a Creeping Torment card and put it on the bottom of the hit champion's lineage. So her kind of shtick is that she curses the opponent, and these kind of stick around and deal extra bonus damage. As an inherited effect, whenever you draw your second card each turn, deal 2 unpreventable damage to this object. So you give this to your opponent, and whenever they draw their second card, they take 2 damage for each Creeping Torment attached to them. So yeah, like I said, it's kind of like this mid-rangey thing. Give them some damage over time, supplemented by your aggressive fire cards. So that is our champion lineage. We also have our material deck. So we do have a full material deck here. We have the Blast Shot Pump. This is a 1-drop gun. It's a one attack, 2 durability. Class bonus, if combat damage you dealt to a unit by an attacking, or if combat damage we dealt to a unit by an attack using Blast Shot Pump, that damage is dealt to that unit and an additional unit you don't control instead. So it kind of does like, splash damage, which is great. We have a Flash Grenade. This is a Ranger accessory, class bonus on enter, draw a card, which is great. Banish it until end of turn. If damage will be dealt to a distant unit you control, prevent 3 of that damage. So if you can make all your stuff distance, this is a great way to prevent a lot of damage. We have Plated Bullet. This is a 0-drop bullet, which is really good to get with our Diana. It says Renewable, which just says if this card would be banished from the field, or an intent, put it into its owner's material deck instead. So it just keeps coming back to your material deck, which is really, really good. And then you can activate it and then load it into a gun. And the gun will deal that much bonus damage. Costing 0 is really good. We have Prototype Pistol. This is another gun. I said that weird, but another gun that you can get with Diana. Costing 0 is great because it's going to be one of the easier ones to get when you materialize and level up Diana. But it's just a simple 1/3. On enter, it gets +1 until end of turn. This is pretty good. So if you do that little wombo combo that I said on turn 2, or not on turn 2, but on the turn that you level up to level 2, you can get the Prototype Pistol. It'll get +1, and then you can get the Plated Bullet, which also attacks for 2. So that's a 4 damaging attack with just these 2 cards when you materialize, or when you level up to level 2. So that's not too bad. We have a quick draw Piercer. This is another gun. It just says on banish, draw a card. So after you've used it a couple times, you get a draw card. We have Taser Shot. This is another bullet, another 0-drop bullet. This one has class bonus on champion hit until the beginning of your next turn. Whenever the hit champion levels up, deal 4 damage to them. So that's just really, really solid. It also has that renewable, so it just keeps coming back. We have Penetrator Round. This one also has renewable, and it says on attack, if you're level 2+ and a ranger, this attack gains combat damage dealt by this is unpreventable, which is great, but it doesn't deal any extra damage there. And then we have one of the big payoffs. This is the Umbra gun, Shadow's Twin. This card's really, really sweet. It says whenever Shadow's Twin becomes loaded, it gets +2 attack until end of turn, and then class bonus, whenever an attack using this weapon triggers an on hit, it triggers an additional time, which also includes the champion on hit from Diana, Duskstalker, so you can give them 2 Creeping Torments, and plus whatever else you got going on here. What's really interesting about this is I do believe a good chunk of these are unique to the starter deck. So that's what kind of makes part of the starter deck just worth getting in general. And that same true, you know, the same thing is true for all 3 of the starter decks. Stuff like their signature weapon does not come in booster packs. It only comes in the starter deck. And there's a couple of other these cards that I do believe that's the case as well. After opening up a good chunk of Alchemical Revolution, stuff like the Flash Grenade, Prototype Pistol, even the Blast Shot Pump. In fact, most, if not all of these, I think are unique to the starter deck. So, yeah, just a great reason to buy it, especially if you are keen on playing this particular champion. All right, let's quickly go over the main deck. What I really like about Grand Archive main decks is that they are very, very keen on putting full playsets of cards in the decks, which is awesome. So it gives you a lot of consistency when you're actually playing the deck. And I'm just kind of fanning through it right here just to kind of prove the point there. But yeah, you're getting a lot of full playsets in this, including some like pretty decent stuff like the super rare here, Violet Haze. Some cards in this deck, once again, are exclusive to the starter deck, and I believe most of them you can get in the booster packs. So something like Sidestep is a really nice card. It's just a 2-drop. Target unit becomes distant, and then draw a card, which is really, really good. And you really want things to become distant because all of your ranger stuff gets bonus, you know, for being distant, especially if they have that ranged keyword. Evasive Maneuvers, I do believe this is one of the cards that is unique to the starter deck. This is a 1-drop, prevent the next 2 damage that we dealt to target unit this turn. If it's a ranger, it becomes distant, and it has fast, which is just really, really solid. Idle Thoughts, this is a reprint card, just a nice little floating memory card. This is not actually in the Alchemical Revolution set, it's in the first set, Dawn of Ashes. We have Imperial Rifleman, a nice little unit that's just a 1/2 that has an additional +2 if it is distant, and then class bonus on enter, it becomes distant. So on the turn you play it, it's just a nice 3-attack unit. We've got a full playset of those. We have Materialize Munitions. I do believe this might be another card that's exclusive to the starter deck. This is a 3-drop class bonus that costs 1 less to play, and it says materialize a bullet from your material deck. You still pay for its costs. Got a full play set of that in here. Reposition, another card that gets distant, which is really, really good. Also, this has floating memory. I think this card's a really, really nice card for any ranger. We have Supply Drone, 0/4. Class bonus at the beginning of your recollection phase, materialize a bullet. Cost was 0, so just a great way to just keep getting bullets, especially the ones that have reservable. Take Aim is a nice little card that gives a pretty nice bonus. So it says target unit's next attack gets +2, and then class bonus, it also gets ranged 2. So that could be a potential +4 if you can give the unit distant as well. Got 3 of those. Take Cover is just a nice little card that can save you. Gives a unit you control stealth and distant, so you can actually give this to your champion or whatever else you want to save. We have the Trained Sharpshooter. Simple unit, it's just a 2/3 that has a class bonus range 2. So if it's distant, 4/3, pretty good. This is one of my favorite cards, and one of the reasons that I personally want to build a Fire Ranger deck myself. This is a 1/2, class bonus range 2, but also on enter, if you control a distant unit, draw a card into your memory. So it's a pretty aggressive card that also replaces itself, which is really good. Automaton Bomber has ranged 4, so it could be a 5/2 for 3, which is great, with class bonus floating memory. So this card can do a lot of damage. We have Force Load, which lets you choose a fire or norm bullet and then just load it into your gun, which is great. Incendiary Shot. This is a 1-drop, 2-attack. This is a bullet, so this is a bullet that's in your main deck as opposed to your material deck, and then on hit, deal an extra 2 damage. Which, if you're using that that gun here, the Shadow's Twin, it'll do an extra 2 damage, which is not too bad. So we're running a full play set of those bullets. We have Rocket Jump. Class bonus costs 2 less, so it only costs 3. And it says target unit becomes distant. If it is defending, deal 4 damage to the attacker. Nice little card here. And then here we have our Umbra element cards that we can only play once we've leveled up Diana to level 3. I do believe all of these, like looking at these, I do believe all of these cards come in the starter, or come in the booster set, yeah. There's some cards here that are really nice though, like we have a couple super rares like Anathema's End. We only get 1 copy of this, but this is a card that is just really, really solid that you probably want to get a couple copies of. It's a 3-drop bullet, attacks for 1, and it says on champion hit, banish all curse cards in their lineage, and then for each card banished this way, deal 2 unpreventable damage to them. So basically you want to stack up a bunch of like creeping torments on them, and then kind of pop them all with the Anathema's End to deal a crap load of damage. And then here are some creeping torments in the main deck. Like I said, you can run these in the main deck, as well as generate them from Diana herself. And the ones that are generated are, you know, like these token ones. We have Mind Break Bullet, nice little bullet that on hit, look at opponent's memory and discard a card from it. This card's really, really nice. We get 3 of here. We get a couple Umbra Sights, just a nice little way to draw cards and get some curse action going. We have Umbral Tithe, costs 1 less to activate for each curse card in each champion's lineage, and then each player draws 2 cards into the memory, then deal 4 damage to each champion controlled by players with 6 or more cards in their memory. Nice little way to deal a bunch of damage. And then finally we have another super rare, Violet Haze, that has all units you control become distant, which is great for all of our dudes. And then you get to put this on the bottom of a champion's lineage, and then they get -2 health. So essentially just kind of debuffs your opponent by 2 health. Really, really solid. And like I said, this deck plays kind of more like a mid-rangey style deck. You have a lot of fairly aggressively statted units, especially if they have range, like the Automaton Bomber just being a 5 attack if it has ranged. And then you have a bunch of ways to deal damage through a combination of your bullets and your guns. So yeah, if you like the mid-range style, a style of like stacking up a bunch of curses on your opponent and then popping them off with your Shadow's Twin, then this might be the deck for you. This one's really, really interesting. All right, next up we have Tonoris, also known by the fan base as Tony, the Wind Guardian deck. As you can see here, we have the full deck list, and this says an indomitable soul on a journey to discover his truth. Difficulty 2 out of 3. So this one is the easiest of the 3 decks, and that's because Guardian is kind of a more straightforward class than the others, I would say. We're gonna have more tokens, I wager, because Tony really likes making his tokens. So let's check that out and see what tokens. I do believe we're probably gonna have a bunch of sword tokens if I remember right. So we have the Automaton Drone. All the tokens have, you know, actual card backs. Automaton Drones are just token allies, Guardian Automatons, and they're 1/1s. So we got 3 of these. We have the Arrow Steel Greatswords, which are 3 attack, 1 durability token weapons. And then we got 1 of each of Tony's obelisks, which is really, really great. So yeah, this one, more tokens than the Diana deck. And that's just because the Neos element just really cares about tokens. And Tony does just kind of in general. He, what can I say? He just likes, he likes making his tokens. One of the mechanics is just having a lot of objects on board. So if you are like someone who really cares about board control, if you care about just big smashy attacks and big dudes and stuff, then I think this is going to be the one for you. And for new players, I think this is the easiest one. With the Ranger being the second easiest, and then our third, you know, class and character we're going to talk about being the most difficult. So here we have Tonoris, Might of Humanity. Another interesting thing about him is all of his well, at least his first and second just kind of do a thing when they come into play, and that's kind of it, right? So our level 1 Tony is Tony Lone Mercenary, and on enter, he gives taunt, or he gains taunt until the beginning of your next turn, which means while he's awake, he must be the target of all attacks from your opponent. So he basically protects all of your dudes, right? So that's one of the best parts about Tony. He just protects all of your dudes. And then the level 2 Tony says on enter, his next attack gets +3 this turn. So he can kind of just come on in for some big damage. This is a wind deck. And then the level 3 Tony is really interesting. First of all, he has 30 health, which is the highest health of any character in the game so far. And he says, at the beginning of your recollection phase, choose one that hasn't been chosen. And then you get to summon one of those 3 obelisks, right? So that's why we have these obelisks. And then you get to pick one of them every single turn, or every single one of your turns at the beginning of your recollection phase. So you can get the Obelisk of Armaments, which for 5 resources, or 5 memory, and then activating it, you can summon a Great Sword token, one of these. And it costs 1 less for each domain you control. This itself is a domain, so at base level it costs 4 to activate. This one lets you summon an automaton drone with a buff counter on it. So one of these with a buff counter. Buff counters give you +1/+1. So you get to summon a 2/2 drone. And that at base level is going to be 5. And then the Obelisk of Protection helps you prevent damage. And then, you know, having all 3 of them out reduces the cost of each of them by 3. Which is great, the activation of them. So, yeah, like I said, you're gonna be making some tokens, right? And once again, there's not a lot of tricky stuff, right? Protect your dudes, pump attack, make some obelisks and stuff. All right, let's check out his material deck. So we have the Bulwark Sword, which is a 2/2 sword. Gets +1 because we are playing a Guardian, so it's essentially a 3/2 sword, but it costs an additional 2 to attack with it. And we're going to see that a lot with Guardian weapons. This is going to cost just more. We have the Charged Mana Plate, a 0-drop Regalia item. Class bonus, banish it, draw a card. Activate this only if your champion has taken 4 more damage this turn. That's actually really, really solid. Just being able to draw a card like that is very, very good. Here we have a Crest of the Alliance, another 0-drop. Whenever a fostered ally you control dies, you may banish this. If you do, draw a card. We're going to talk about foster as we go, but it's just a mechanic that if it survives a round without taking damage, then it becomes fostered. We have the Power Charged Shield, another 0-drop. Banish it. Target unit with taunt gains Vigor until end of turn. Vigor means it wakes up at the beginning of your end phase, so you can attack with it or activate it, and then it gets back up, which is great. We have a Worn Gear Blade. This is a 1-drop, and then you can use it and remove a durability counter from it and prevent 1 damage that will be dealt to target unit this turn. It starts with 3 durability counters, and it says whenever an automaton ally you control dies, put a durability counter on this, which is really, really solid. This is just a great value over time sword. We also have this Deployment Beacon, 1-drop on enter, summon automaton drone token. Pretty good, right? This is actually one of the only, at least right now, material deck cards that just summons a dude, which is great. And then on leave, summon automaton drone token. So if this is removed somehow, well, you can summon another token, which is great. And then finally, we have we have 2 more. Yeah, 2 more. This is the Archon Broadsword. This is a Neos weapon. It says as additional cost to use a weapon, costs 2, and it gets +1 for each token you control. So all of these are tokens, unique token domain. So if you just have these 3 out, this will get +3 and attack for 5. This thing attacks for a ton. You know, imagine having more, like the great swords and the automaton drones. Yeah, this thing attacks for just an absolute crap load. And then finally, we have the super rare Regalia card. So this one is Sentinel Fabricator. It's a 0-drop, and you can pay 3 and then activate it and summon an automaton drone with a buff. Like I said, summon one of those 1/1s, that becomes a 2/2. To just make a bunch of tokens, right? Once again, board control. It's all about the board control. And that is that's our material deck. Just a lot of stuff to protect our dudes, to attack big, and to make a bunch of tokens. All right, let's talk about the main deck here. So we have a Fortified Mana Shield. This is just a card that just helps you prevent some damage, basically. So it's a 2-drop fast class bonus. It costs 2 less if it targets a unit with taunt. So if it targets your Tony, when he has taunt, it's free, which is great. It says the next time target unit would take non-combat damage this turn, prevent 4 of that damage. So running a full playset of those. We have Heavy Swing. This is a super simple card. 6 cost, 6 attack, and it costs 2 less to activate if you're a Guardian. So it costs 4 to attack for 6. Very simple. Just smash on in for some big damage. We have Imperial Recruit, and so another really, really simple card. It's just a 2-drop, and then it has Foster. Like I said, Foster's mechanic is if it doesn't take damage for a full turn, then it becomes fostered. Specifically, the rules say, at the beginning of your recollection phase, if this ally hasn't been dealt damage since the end of your previous turn, it becomes fostered. Imperial Recruit gets +1 attack as long as it's fostered. And once it's fostered, it just stays fostered, right? So if it can survive a round, it becomes a 2/3. This is pretty good stats for Grand Archive. We have Imperial Sentry. This one is a 4-drop 2/3 intercept that if you're level 2+, it gets an additional health. So it can be a 4-drop 2/4 with intercept, which is pretty good. So we got a full set of those. I don't think that one is in... I think this one might be unique to the starter deck. I don't remember. We have Into the Fray. This is definitely one that comes in the boosters. This one is up to 1 ally you control gets +1 attack until end of turn for each other ally you control. So it synergizes really well with all of our token making. And then it has Floating Memory, which is just really, really solid. We have Martial Guard. This also has Floating Memory if you're level 2+. And it says the next time target ally or target unit would be dealt damage this turn, prevent 2 of the damage. So just a nice little damage prevention thing. You're seeing a lot of the same kind of stuff over and over. We have Novice Mechanist. This has Foster, and on Foster, summon an Automaton Drone token. So it's a 1/2. That if it's fostered, you get a drone, which is really, really nice. I think this is another one that is exclusive to the starter deck. We have Stalwart Shieldmate. This card's sweet. So this is a reprint with new art. So this is not in the Alchemical Revolution set. In fact, this card was in the Fractured Crown, but with different art. So this art is exclusive to this starter deck. Card's really good. It's just a 2-drop 0/2 with taunt and Floating Memory. Just kind of gums up the board, and when it dies, you can make some use of it. We have Take Point. 2-drop with Floating Memory, and it says your champion gains taunt until the beginning of your next turn. So once again, just a way to give Tony taunt to protect all of your dudes. And why you would want to do that? Well, to keep them around, but also so you can foster them. So Tony gets taunt, and then he'll take all the damage, and then you can foster your units. We should have a full play set of this. I do believe this might be another one that is exclusive to the starter deck. We got a Cyclonic Strike, really interesting card. It's a 4-drop, 4 attack, class bonus for 0. You can choose to suppress an ally you don't control, and if you do, this gets -2 attack. And suppress basically means you banish it from the field, and then it comes back at the beginning of the end phase. So you can kind of remove a big blocker or something, and then this attacks for a little bit less. It's a kind of a tricky card. We have Recruitment Officer. I think this is another one that is unique to the starter deck. I really like the art in this one. It's a 3-drop 1/3 class bonus Foster, and then on Foster you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal an ally from among them, and then you put it into your hand. This is really good. So we have a full play set of those. We have Rousing Slam. This is just a 4-drop 4 attack. On attack, the attacker gains Vigor and Taunt until the beginning of your next turn. So give Vigor and Taunt to good old Tony. Winds of Retribution. This is a 6-drop, but it costs 2 less to activate if you're level 2+. And it just says allies you control get 2 attack until end of turn, +2. So it just pumps all your dudes. So this is a nice little finisher to pump all of your tokens and all the dudes that you have. We have Young Peacekeeper, a 1/2 with Foster, and once it's fostered, it gets +1/+1, and it also has Floating Memory. So it's potentially a 2/3 with Floating Memory for 3, which is pretty good stats. And here we have all of the Neos cards, including a nice little super right here. Assemble the Ancients. 3-drop slow, sacrifice any number of domains, Then summon that many automaton drone tokens. Those tokens enter the field rested with an amount of buff counters on it equal to the amount of domains sacrificed this way. They gain vigor until end of turn, which means they all wake up, which is really, really solid. So you can just make a bunch of massive drones. We have Neo Sight, which lets you draw 2 cards sometimes if you control 8 or more objects. So we have 3 of those. We have another big old smasher. This card's pretty ridiculous, actually. Smash with Obelisk. This basically is a 3 for 9, I think. So it says, as additional cost to activate this card, sacrifice a domain you control, and then it gets plus X attack, where X is the reserve cost of the sacrificed domain. So all of the tokens that Tony makes, the ones that he makes at the beginning of his turn, they are all domains, and they all have a reserve cost of 3. So at minimum, this will get a plus 3 from it. So the 3-drop, 9 attack. Pretty good. Just a good way. Big old smashers. And then, you know, we like summoning dudes. Hey, here's another way to summon more dudes. Summon Sentinels. 4-drop, except it costs 1 less to activate for each domain you control. So if you have all 3 domains, this will only cost 1. And it says summon 2 drone tokens, each with a buff counter on them. So you summon 2 2/2s. Yeah, Tony is pretty simple, like I said. Like, if you like just board control and big old, you know, smashy attacks, then this is the deck for you. Lots of tokens, lots of just kind of like, you know, you've seen it. Big old, I was gonna say big old chungus, but, you know, Tony likes smashing stuff and making robots. And then last but not least, we have what I think might end up being my favorite of the bunch, Arisanna, Master Alchemist. She is a water cleric. She is also the hardest deck to pilot. This is more of a control style deck. A talented yet obsessive alchemist. No pure mutation goes untested. Yeah, I'm actually really excited for this. I was able to spoil 2 of the really big chase cards for her archetype. Just really dig her archetype. And there's a couple interesting stuff that that comes with this. So one of them is this dice, right? So this deck, you get a little bit of extra things because she has some kind of interesting new mechanics. So let's kind of, we're gonna get into it. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. There's a reason why I saved this one for last. So let's open this up and kind of check out the tokens. Basically, one of the new mechanics for Grand Archive, and specific to Arisanna right now, is the gather mechanic. And she's an alchemist. She gathers herbs, and here you can see like a nice little smattering of herbs. And so what you do is you roll the herb dice here whenever you gather, and then you get the herbs here. And this is a way that you can keep track of the herbs that you have. There's also tokens, and you have this dice as well. So you can either use this dice, or you can use something like this that has the number for a normal D6. So if you don't have the fancy dice here, you can just use a normal D6 and, you know, roll a D6. If you get a 6, you get the spring leaf, right? So anyway, cool that they included this stuff. And I'm pretty sure that those tokens are going to be here. So yeah, we have Blight Root, got a couple Blight Roots, a couple Mana Roots, a couple Silvershine, a couple Freysia, a couple Razorvine, and a couple Spring Leaf. So like I said, you can just roll a D6 and then get that. And each of these does a different thing. So you can sacrifice this, give your champion +1 level until end of turn. Same for this, +1 level until end of turn. You can sacrifice this to recover 1, so heal 1. Same for this, heal 1. And then this one is, I think, the best one. Sacrifice it, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. If you do, draw a card. Same for this one. So yeah, nice little smattering of herb tokens. And let's check out the deck. So Arisanna herself has the gather mechanic built in, and what that means is when it says gather twice, you basically roll twice to see which 2 herbs you get at random. There are also other cards that, you know, let you gather. There are some cards that let you trade the herbs in for different herbs. Yeah, I'm super into this. And then I saw her advanced element, and then I was like even more into it. So We are running the Spirit of Water for this. And that's likely the deck that I'm going to end up building is going to be the water version of Arisanna. So let's talk about Arisanna. So on enter, gather twice. So like I said, you get 2 random herbs. Level 2 is on enter, gather twice. But she also has an inherited effect that says at the beginning of your end phase, you can sacrifice 2 herbs with the same name. If you do, draw a card. Really, really great. So if you somehow end up with 2 of the same herb, you get to draw some cards. And then it says Arisanna, her level 3, she becomes an Astra element. And it says once per turn you can pay 0 rather than pay a card's star calling cost. Now star calling is a mechanic unique to the Astra element. And that means while you are glimpsing, so what glimpsing is you're looking at the top X number of cards from your deck. And then you choose to put them back on top or the bottom. So like Scry from Magic or Opt from Flesh and Blood. But what star calling is while you're doing that, you can pay the star calling cost to then play the card, right? While you're glimpsing. And so her ability makes it so that you can pay a star calling for 0 once per turn. Once on everyone's turn. Your turn and your opponent's turn. So yeah, like I said, kind of a control deck. And the devs called Arisanna like the big brain champion from the set. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Super, super cool. So let's check out the material deck. So we have Cleric Robes. This is 1 drop on enter, draw a card, really good. And then you can pay 1 and use it to prevent 1 damage to be dealt to your champion. Nice little stall card. We have the Ingredient Pouch. 0 drop, class bonus. You can pay 1 and activate it to gather. So just get a random herb. We have the Life Essence Amulet. This is a reprint. This is just a nice reprint with brand new art. So 0 cost whenever an ally you control dies. If it's not your turn, banish it, draw a card. We have the Necklace of Foresight. 1 drop, but if you're playing a Cleric, it costs 0, so 0 drop. Banish it, glimpse 4. So that means look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put them back on the top or the bottom in any combination. We have the Prototype Staff. So 0 drop, class bonus, memory 4+. That's another new mechanic. Memory and then a number means you have to have that many cards in your memory. So if you have 4 cards in your memory or more, your champion gets +1 level. And then if you're level 4+, you can use this, and then you can put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. If you do, draw a card into your memory. We have Scale of Souls, really interesting card. This is a 0 drop. It has balance. At the beginning of your recollection phase, if the amount of cards in your hand and memory are equal, recover 2, so you heal 2, and then you can pay 2 and then rest it, and then return a card from your memory to your hand, which is really interesting. Cool card. And we have Synth Disruptor, a 0 drop. Banish it until end of turn. Automaton allies enter the field rested. This is very much like a anti-Tony card, at least for these starter decks. So you don't just get immediately run over. We have the Cosmic Astroscope. So this is a Cleric Staff. Class bonus, if an opponent would glimpse X, you may have that player glimpse 3 instead. So if your opponent's going to be glimpsing a ton, you can have them glimpse 3, which is great. Also, you can activate this to glimpse 3 yourself. So yeah, really, really solid. That is Arisanna's kit there. A lot of stalling, control-y stuff, manipulating the top of your deck. Oh, dude, I'm really excited to play this. And for the starter deck event, I'm debating between this one and Diana, and I might swap between them. You can play multiple decks if you'd like. So we have Academy Attendant, 3 drop, 2/2, class bonus, and then memory 4+, gets +1 attack. So this is a pretty simple little card there. We have Barter Herbs. This is a way you can swap your herbs around. So it says sacrifice up to 2 herbs. For each herb sacrificed this way, summon your choice of Blightroot, Mana Root, Silvershine, Freesia, Razorvine, or Springleaf. So you can basically swap 2 herbs as you'd like. And it has Floating Memory. So 1 drop with Floating Memory is a really good card. We have the Cute Caretaker Drone. This is just a very simple card. It's a 2 drop with Intercept. It's a 0/2. And then when it dies, you get a glimpse 4. So you get some of that glimpse synergy. We have Foraging Servant. I do believe this one is unique to the starter deck. 2 drop, 1/2, on enter gather, and then it has Floating Memory. This card is really, really good for Arisanna, I think. We have Potion of Healing. So she's an alchemist, and she makes potions. So another mechanic we have here is Brew. So this potion normally costs 3, but you can also brew it, which means you can sacrifice the listed objects rather than pay this card's reserve cost. So you can sacrifice 2 herbs, 2 any herbs, and then play it for free, which is great. And you can sacrifice this to heal 5. So just a nice little heal. We have Scry the Skies, just as really, really good for Arisanna because you get to glimpse and then draw a card into your memory. There's also an ultra rare card that I spoiled that, synergizes with this called Scry the Stars. I doubt it's in this deck. I don't think we have an ultra rare in the deck. We have Serum of Wisdom, another potion, brew 3 herbs, and you can sack this to glimpse 3 and then draw a card into your memory, which is really solid. We have Essence of Blizzard, another potion, brew 1 adjuvant and 1 catalyst. So each of the herbs has a subtype here. So this one is a Cleric Herb Catalyst root. And we have Mana Root, which is an adjuvant root. And then we have Silvershine, Catalyst Flower, Freesia, Adjuvant Flower, Razorvine, Catalyst Leaf, Spring Leaf, Adjuvant Leaf, right? So you have each type has one of, so each, like a root has both types, leaf has both types, yada yada. So you just need one of each, right, to brew this. And then on sacrifice, deal 1 damage to target unit. If it's rested, deal 1+ level damage to the unit instead. Until end of turn, allies enter the field rested. Really nice. I got 4 of these, really good at slowing down our opponent. We have Flash Freeze. This is a great little counter spell. Costs 4, but if you're a cleric, costs 2 less, so it only costs 2. It says negate target card activation unless its controller pays level, which is your level. Banish the card that had its activation negated this way. So negate basically means like counter the card, right? So this is you 2 to counter spell unless they pay your level. We have Hypothermia, a nice little removal spell. It's a 2-drop, and it says rested ally gets -4 health until end of turn. If their health is 0, they die. So just basically almost like deals 4 damage to a rested dude. We have the Crystalline Distiller, 3-drop, 1/3. Class bonus on enter. If you've brewed a potion this turn, draw a card into your memory. And brew is that alternate cost. So if you've basically paid the alternate cost to do a potion, and then you play this dude, you can draw a card into your memory. Yeah, still pretty good. We have Perfect Repulsion. 2-drop, the next time target unit you control would take exactly X damage this turn. Prevent that damage, where X is the amount of cards in your memory. Then draw a card if damage is prevented this way. This is a little tricky card. You kind of have to set it all up. But if you have 2 cards, 1 card in your memory, I don't think I'd activate this for 1. But if you have 2 cards in your memory, it's not too bad to prevent 2. We have Potion Infusion Clarity. So this is a 7-drop potion, class bonus. It costs 2 less to activate, so it's a 5-drop potion. And it says rest target this is a spell. Rest target potion. If you do, it gains on sacrifice, draw 2 cards until end of turn, which is great. This is just a way to pump up some of your potions. So we have 2 of those. We have Potion Infusion Frostbite. So the infusions are just ways to pump up your potions. So this is a 1-drop, rest a potion. If you do, it gains on sacrifice, rest target unit. The next time that unit would take damage from a water element source's turn, it takes that much +4 instead. So just a nice way to get some removal there. So you have 3 of those. Stream of Consciousness, 2-drop, glimpse 3 if you have memory 4+, and then you draw a card into your memory. So not too bad. Nice little card selection. Here we have a reprint of Water Barrier. A nice, damage prevention card. For the next time damage will be dealt to your champion this turn, prevent all but 1 of that damage, and then it has floating memory. Class bonus, and it is a Cleric Mage. So yes, you do get the class bonus on this. And then now we have our suite of Astra cards, and we've got a nice little smattering here. So first up, we have Astra Sight. It's a 0-drop, glimpse 1, draw a card, and it has Star Calling. So like I said, as you're looking at this card while glimpsing, you may activate it, which means play it, by paying its Star Calling cost. If you do, put all other cards you're looking at on the bottom of your deck in any order. So yeah, that's great. So you can just play this while you are glimpsing. Comet Fall, Star Calling 2, and then it also does 3 damage to all non-Astra Element units, which includes champions. Class bonus, 4 instead. So just 4 to everything, which is great. Yeah, We have 3 of these, normally cost 5, but you can star calling for 2 or star calling for 0. We have this card, which is actually really nice to get 2 of these here because in an entire case, I only pulled 1 of them, even though it's just a rare. It's a 7-drop Condensed Supernova. This is a great board wiper. It says a potion, has brew, 1 Silvershine, 2 adjuvants, and 2 catalysts. And it says, sacrifice it, deal level damage to all non-Astra units, glimpse 4. Yeah, so you can deal a bunch of damage if you have a high level, and then you also get a glimpse 4, so you can continue on your star calling train. Next up we have Cosmic Bolt. I think this one is unique to the starter deck. It's a 3-drop, slow, star calling 2, deal 4 damage to target unit, plus an additional 2 damage for each card named Cosmic Bolt in your graveyard and banishment. Remember, unit means you can deal damage to your opponent's champion too, so champion or ally. So this is a great way to just finish the game. You can deal a ton of damage with this card. So yeah, get a full play set of those. And then we have 2 one-offs here. We have Potion Infusion, Starlight, 3-drop, it has class bonus, star calling 1, rest, target potion. If you do, it gains on sacrifice until end of turn, your champion gains +4 level. So you can combine that with any of the cards that care about your level, like the Condensed Supernova. And then we have a 1-of, Spell Shield Astra, 4-drop, costs 2 less, so it's really 2-drop. The next time damage will be dealt to your champion this turn, prevent that damage. Glimpse X, where X is the amount of damage prevented this way. And that was the Arisanna deck. As you can see, very tricksy, very controlling. I think this deck is going to be a ton of fun to play. And, you know, I agree. It's probably the hardest. And you know what? Let's kind of lay these all out here. So we have Arisanna, we have Tonoris, and we have Diana. And yeah, I think they're all very, very interesting. These are really, really cool and fun starter decks, right? For a starter deck to have full play sets of almost everything, right? Except for, you know, the odd rare or super rare here. They come with a bunch of cards unique to the starter decks, and I think are like complex enough for card game fans to like really, really find enjoyable, but also like simple enough that you can kind of cut your teeth on them. Especially if you're like, oh, I don't know about the tricksy stuff, then you can just play Tonoris and have a great time just summoning drones and smashing your opponent. If you're like, yo, I want the big brain, let me do all the things, then you have Arisanna, so you can play stuff while you're glimpsing and, you know, set up all of your shenanigans. So yeah, I think these decks are great. I do recommend buying them if you are looking to get into Grand Archive. I think the other 3 starter decks are great as well, so you can check out my old review on that. But I think this is a great starting point into Grand Archive as well. So thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to join the Rogues Gallery Discord if you would like to participate in the starter deck event that we will be hosting in about a month or so. We'll be posting more details in the Discord as well as here on the Red Zone Rogue YouTube channel. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below which deck you will be picking up or which one you are most excited to play. Like I said, I think I'm really digging the Arisanna here, but possibly Diana. I don't know. Let me know your pick in the comments down below, and we'll see you next time.